with everything that is happening worldwide with regard to viral infections or viral problems, here's something that you want to know. Hello, I am Christian Drapeau. I'm a stem cell scientist and herbalist, and I help people live longer, better lives. So in 1995, I was hired by a company selling AFA, and my job was to essentially identify the active compounds in AFA and the mechanism of action behind the benefits that people were reporting with the consumption of AFA. So these benefits were essentially benefits on the immune system, benefits on inflammation, benefits on mental clarity. Very rapidly, we identified that this blue-green algae AFA contained phycocyanin, which had been identified as a COX-2 inhibitor, which explains a lot of its benefits on inflammation. And we identified that it is a natural source of phenylethylamine, known in biochemistry as the molecule of love, the molecule of joy. Whenever you feel content, you feel happy, when you're doing a painting, you're sculpting, and you kind of forget everything around you, you're not hungry, your financial problems, you don't have to worry, they will come back, but right now you're not thinking about them. Your brain is making PEA, and it potentiates nervous transmission through dopamine and norepinephrine, which are two neurotransmitters that have been associated with this sense of mental clarity, concentration, and sense of well-being. So by identifying these compounds, we really had the mechanism of action for the effects on inflammation and on the brain, on mental clarity. When we started to do the work on immunity, on the immune system, because one of the main reports from consumers using AFA was that the typical cold that they have, in the winter, well, they no longer had it. People reporting benefits, people used to have asthma, allergies, would report a drastic reduction in their asthma, and oftentimes allergies were gone. So there was definitely an effect on the immune system. So we designed a study to identify what was the effect on the immune system. And very rapidly what we discovered is that the polysaccharide in AFA had various effects on the immune system. One is of the clear effect, and that work was done in association with University of Mississippi, is that the polysaccharide in AFA stimulates macrophages. So this is your front line of defense. So if you are exposed to a viral infection, your macrophage will be the first front line of defense to start to signal and say, hey, there's a problem here. So the faster they can react, then the quicker you can engage into your immune response, so the better you will be. You don't give a chance for the problem, the infection, to basically gain grounds. This polysaccharide was stimulating macrophage activity, but we also documented that this polysaccharide was also stimulating NK cell migration. So we were, as we quantified, so at first we started to see what would there be a population change in these different immune cells. Are we going to see a boost of B cells, T cells, more immunoglobulin, that kind of thing. So, and as we're looking at all of this, we see a very quick drop in the number of NK cells within about 30 minutes after consumption. Something that, to my knowledge, had never really been reported. So at first we had no clue what it was. It could be a number of things. It could be that NK cells are migrating into tissues, which would mean it really support them into their role of tissue scouting, tissue surveillance, or it could mean that these NK cells are simply pooled into one of the lymphoid tissue of the body, in which case it would mean like nothing really significant. So what we did is that we took advantage of an opportunity where Dr. Jensen had access to the doctor with whom I was doing all this work. She had access to 3 patients in a hospital that had been treated for breast cancer. So after removal of the lymph nodes, they had a bag that was collected the lymph that was sort of seeping through, after the surgery. So by collecting the lymph, we had a means of identifying whether these NK cells that were leaving the blood, were they going into a lymphoid tissue, or were they going into tissues, which means interstitial fluid, which would then collect them through the lymph, and then we could quantify in a sample of the lymph an increase in the number of natural killer cells. So it's a preliminary trial. It was never done as a full study, but through this small experiment, we could tell that indeed there was an increase in the number of NK cells found in the lymph that accompanied the decline in the number of NK cells in the circulation. So it was really good data telling us that natural killer cells were stimulated in their ability to migrate into tissues by this polysaccharide from AFA. Then a few years later, we then did the work to study the effect of this polysaccharide, not only on the migration, but on the activation of natural killer cells. And we saw something very interesting. What I mean is that, yes, it did stimulate NK cell activation very significantly, but at the time that we did this work, one of the main product on the marketplace that was documented for its effect on NK cell activation was a red rice extract. So we used this red rice extract as our standard to basically see how would the activation with AFA polysaccharide compare with this effect, with the effect of this red rice extract. And what we saw is that the polysaccharide from AFA was stimulating NK cell activation about 70 times stronger. It was 70 times stronger than the red rice extract. So all of this to say that we have with AFA and the polysaccharide in AFA an amazing product here to stimulate NK cell, both in their activation, their role in killing virally infected cells or cancer cells, but also in their role of scouting tissues so that if any of these infections or anything is happening in the body can react really rapidly. And we know how important it is, because if you can stop a viral infection and react to it before it has the time to really develop, then that's the difference between feeling a little bit tired on one day, have the sniffle, but then the other day, the day after, everything is normal, back to health, and the difference with basically dragging this for a few days and then it develops into a full-blown viral infections. So in your arsenal, as the cold season is coming, make sure that you get yourself AFA. By the way, the studies were done with the polysaccharide from AFA, but this polysaccharide is extremely potent. So just by taking whole AFA or AFA extract as we have it in STEMREGEN, it is enough here. There's enough of the polysaccharide to give you this effect on natural killer cells activation and migration. So as the winter is coming, think about AFA.